Hey, what's going on, my friends, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Victor, and today I'm going to share with you 5 things I think you should know about this very powerful and transformative new moon we have here, August 27th, 2022. Number 1, I wrote down heading into a very transformative time. Like a longer time period where a lot of us are going to undergo quite a metamorphosis, you could say. Very similar, what keeps coming to mind is adolescence. Adolescence obviously is a time where you head into adolescence as a child with a very limited understanding of the world, and you have like a certain outlook. Obviously, we all know what it's like to be a kid. And when you come out, you're not quite an adult yet, but you're like a different person. You have different interests, you have different values, different priorities. You even look different. And that's a good metaphor for like the degree of change, the speed of change. It's very quick. The adolescent period, if you have kids, you see from like 9, 10 to like 13, 14, 15, it's like they're different people. They're taller, they're bigger, big changes happen. And you might feel like you're going into that. And if you remember, as much as I do, adolescent, it can be kind of an awkward time period when you're really trying to find yourself and get to know yourself. And there are just different like changes we go through where we start to maybe dress differently and present ourselves differently, experiment with different personas, different hobbies, the way we dress. Everything is kind of like this in the midst of continual change as we aim to really clarify this new version of ourselves. And it's very accelerated. Again, it's sometimes kind of awkward. You sometimes might feel like you don't know who you are. You might feel like your entire life has led you up into this point, and even though you should have it all figured out, you feel kind of lost. Like, I don't know what I want out of life. Something feels off in my life, like in a general way, but I can't quite put my finger on it. And it's just this time. We're heading into the winter, at least some of us here in the United States and other places, obviously. And it's just, we're heading into a very accelerated and transformative time. Number 2, time speeding up. Is time speeding up? Does it feel like life is transpiring faster than normal? Like you have more on your plate than is comfortable? Like you are overwhelmed with the amount of stuff you are mentally and physically engaged in? Like there's too many details to manage, there's too much going on, time is speeding up. Sometimes our awakening can get to that point where it feels that way. Maybe it is happening. I, of course, can't say for sure, but sometimes it certainly feels like time and the rate at which we experience the many facets of life, it's accelerating. And just as if you were on a roller coaster ride and it starts to speed up and you're not used to it, it can be a little bit unnerving, a little bit overwhelming, a little bit anxiety provoking. And what I've come to learn is that when we feel like this, at least the way I look at it, whether time's speeding up or not, I don't know, so I don't really address that. What I address is, what's the message? What can I learn? How can I benefit from, even though sometimes this uncomfortable feeling of accelerating beyond a pace of life that I'm comfortable with? I find that when I'm in that kind of mode and I'm feeling a bit like overwhelmed by life, that it's an opportunity to take like an inventory. And what I have always found, and even myself at this time in my life as well, is that there are some oftentimes new things I'm engaged in, new projects, new creative, new things that are exciting and relevant to me. But it's hard to make room for those when I have a lot of these other things I've been doing, these old things, and there's not enough room for the new and the old. And it's kind of like a time to spring clean and clean house and omit some of the things you're putting your focus and energy into that no longer are relevant in your life. But sometimes, we become kind of an autopilot and find ourselves just doing things on a regular routine basis. And we need these overwhelmed periods to make us stop and look around and say, what's the deal? Why do I feel this way? What is not working? What am I doing that maybe I don't need to be doing? And if you look for 5 seconds, you'll find it. And you'll be able to find and assess very quickly what's the heaviest energy in my life. What are the tasks, the things I'm doing that are draining me, that are the least fulfilling? It won't be hard to discover those, but then what can pose a problem is our willingness to let them go. And usually within that, there's yet again an opportunity to learn something about ourselves and to step more into, I want to say our power, but it's more like be a better embodiment of one who loves themselves enough to not subject themselves to anything that is creating imbalance or inner turmoil or a chronic draining of our energy. So it'll be different for a lot of us. Some of you might feel like you need to speak up and set a boundary and say, you know what, I gotta draw the line here, buddy. You're taking up too much of my time and energy. I have other people I have to be there for, and we gotta chill out. Obviously, you probably don't put it in those words, but that might be the situation. For me, what's going on, I had to speak up. Not in a way of setting boundaries, but more asking for help. And in fact, I did this just yesterday. I was feeling very overwhelmed in my full-time purpose company. It's where me and my friend Aaron Dowdy, it's a company we started where we help people become online spiritual-based entrepreneurs. And it's really growing and it's really doing very well. But there's a lot of different things that come with a company going through an expansion. And I've been finding myself doing a lot of it, a lot of things that in the beginning weren't a big deal because there weren't that much of it, but now it's exponentialized and it's just too much for me. And I was feeling increasingly stressed. It was this is just an example, obviously. It's a good metaphor, quite frankly, for what this might be doing to you in your life. When there's something like this that's creating the imbalance, it was creating imbalance. It was making it where I didn't have the energy to perform at my workouts, or to film YouTube videos, or I was finding myself very impatient around my children because I was just, this imbalance in my life was sucking up and absorbing too much of my time and energy, and I knew it was this. And for a while I was what am I gonna do? Poor Victor. And then it was well, you know what to do. Just ask for help. But for me, for whatever reason, that's always been kind of difficult for me. It probably is very intertwined with self-worth and many deep issues, but regardless, that didn't have time for that. I just had to ask for help. So I did. I sent Aaron a text just yesterday morning saying, hey bro, I'm feeling overwhelmed and here's what's going on. Could we work together to find a solution? And of course he was bro, I'm sorry you're going through that. Let's see what we can do. And solutions are present now. And the situation is very quickly getting resolved, as always happens when you kind of make the right move. Again, for you, it might be setting a boundary, or it might be letting go of a habit that just is so out of sync with the person you've grown into. It reminds me of when I smoked cigarettes, and this is not judging anybody who smoked cigarettes, but there came a point where I was a health nut. I was smoking a lot of cigarettes. I was addicted, and I eventually got this personal training job where none of the other trainers smoked, obviously, and I found myself having to chew Nicorette gum just to get through the day because I didn't want to smell like cigarettes for my clients. And then once in a while I'd sneak out and have one. And all of a sudden, this old habit was just so clearly out of place. And yet it was taking a lot of time and energy to hold on to it. At that point, it was actually easy for me to quit smoking because it was it made no sense to continue. So I got the nicotine patch, and I haven't smoked cigarettes ever since. And it was kind of easy when I outgrew the habit. So that might be you. Maybe you have to sort of use your willpower and just say no to some kind of ingrained behavior that's tripping you up in your life. For me, again, it was a theme of asking for help, being worthy enough to say, hey guys, I need some help. Regardless, This time speeding up phenomena is obviously, as you can see, a gateway to a lot of inner transformation, a lot of like inner insights and pushing through our own boundaries. And the result is a lot more time and harmony and freedom in your daily life. So you can really put your energy and your heart into the things that matter to you and not the things that are, habits of the old you. Number 3, I just wrote down plainly, you've recently come into your power more, recognizing your own value, and consequently sometimes old things need to fall away. And I kind of just said that, but this is a bit different, honestly. It's more like you'll run into more hiccups and like problems and resistance in the areas that need to be like removed from your life. An example that comes to mind that sort of inspired this is my good friend Roy. He's someone that I used to coach, and he now lives in Austin, and we're great friends, and he's worked for me in a lot of different ways. He helps me with my coaching programs, he helps me at my retreats, and he's like my go-to guy. And lately he's been doing sales calls for the Full-Time Purpose program, and in the sales position, he's making a lot more money than all the other stuff he was doing. He was doing more like assistant type of work. And now he's like doing well for himself, and he's realizing, wow, I'm getting really good at these sales, and it's really changing my life and my sort of income situation. And all of a sudden, because he's just grown, he kind of earned it, and it's beautiful to see him blossoming. And all of a sudden he had to come to me and say, Vic, bro, can we please phase out of a lot of the other things you're having me do? And I could tell he's bringing to me these kind of like random oddball circumstances associated with this other aspect of his life, working for me in this other regard. And it's just like a lot of little itty bitty annoying problems to demonstrate to him that this is out of alignment. This has now become for you, Roy, because you've outgrown it, kind of a heavy dissonant energy, and you need to like make some changes here. So if you find that, if you heard the entire point number 2 and still feel like I don't know what's going on, look no further than the problems in your life. And the awakening we go through, this ascension with the full moons and new moons, it can really create a lot of like synchronistic problems, where situations that of course are subject to random ebb and flow and times of ease and times of problems. Sometimes in a short window, there can be a lot of little problems, a lot of issues to deal with. And it's like, what the hell is going on with this thing? And usually it's just to like compress and to highlight that this must go. So I invite you to look through your own life, see if you can pinpoint the main sources of your problems and take responsibility for them. But most importantly, understand that maybe they don't have to be there. Maybe it's connected to something you're doing or investing your time and energy into that you just have outgrown. In which case, give yourself a pat on the back and move on to the next thing, because that's where this is all heading. The universe is trying to clear away a lot of the stuff that is just like, again, it's like a vestige, an old echo of the old you. And it's not so you could have this massive, boring, dull void in your life. It's because there's newness coming through, new inspirations, new creative projects, new things to do that are more connected with your true authentic self. But as that authentic self is kind of emerging within you, like it or not, it's pushing out all this stuff that no longer belongs. Number 4, this leads into, I wrote down here in sort of bold, like in a bold way, a very creative time. Again, it's those creative inspirations bursting forth within you that are compelling you to make room for them. And this might take you on to kind of a journey of maybe redefining what is art to you. What does it mean to be creative? What does it mean to be an artist in your life? And one of the things I continue to sometimes struggle with is the faith that my art is enough. Not in the terms of people, it doesn't matter if people like it or not. It's more like my art, my genuine passions are enough to support me. And maybe I don't need to work so hard or stress so much. I can just do what I'm good at, that is helpful, that's creatively satisfying, and know that in some way that's going to be more than enough to give me the abundance and freedom that I yearn for in my life and for the life of my family. So that's one of the things I'm going through. You might also find that you're looking at some of the things you're already doing in your life under a different light and realize the artistic potential already inherent in some of that stuff. An example comes to mind, one of our clients, her name is Davia from the Full-Time Purpose Program. The other day I taught all the clients how to write emails and like send out newsletters. And she reported in our community, she was saying, man, thank you for that lesson because I hated doing that. I saw it as some sort of drudgerous to-do type task that I had to do, but it wasn't fun. And she said, now I'm looking at this same thing, writing emails, in a more expanded way. And I'm finding that I'm able to enjoy it more and really get creative and again, just have more fun with it. Another example is my buddy Heather from Activation Vibration. You might see her, she's really well known for her Instagram stories. And I've hung out with her, I've gone on vacation with her, and I've seen the way she works and the way she is very artistic with her stories. Instagram stories, I don't even do anymore because I find them to be, like Davey, I find them to be kind of a boring task. I'm more of a reclusive dude, I don't like it. But Heather takes that same thing and she's able to really have fun with it and express herself in a very dynamic and kind of a cool, unique way. And it's all about just her mindset. She sees it as a creative outlet. So my question to you, are there creative outlets in your life that you're maybe not even seeing? I know you might have a job that's taking up your time, but within that, is there room for more of your creative ideas? And if not, then it's time to start looking elsewhere because as human beings, I've found we need to be creatively satisfied. We need to have some kind of outlet that we are putting our souls, our authentic, our creative energy into, whether it becomes like this big, well-known thing or just something for yourself or not, there's gotta be some type of creative, artistic outlet, oftentimes related to your purpose. There needs to be some type of way that we feel we're contributing to the world in some way. Otherwise, there's something missing. And all this stuff I was talking about before, maybe the issues in your life, the overwhelm from time speeding up, all that stuff, it's almost like making way for you to have this element in your life, this creative element in your life. And I'm telling you, man, I don't know how I ever did it without it. In fact, in absence of it, I seeked out the satisfaction, or I tried to fill that hole with drugs, with just very unhealthy things, because there was a part of me that was craving something more, something deeper, something richer, something creative, something real, something authentic, something bold. And now is a great time to make the adjustments, let go of the stuff no longer serving you, and allow yourself to have this beautiful, creative side of yourself allowed with time and space to really see what it can do. And what I have learned, even though I still get in my head about it, is that, at least for what it's worth, I am a case in point. This YouTube channel and my career is a case in point that you can support yourself by just being your bold, authentic self in whatever way makes sense for you. And number 5, it's time to believe in yourself. There was an unnecessary long pause there. I was pausing for effect. It sort of didn't come out the way I was hoping. It's a time, regardless, it's a time to believe in yourself and to give your dreams, your inspirations, your intuitive nudges, at least an opportunity to show you. It's like the common theme I've been noticing, and I have 2 coaching programs now, and it's the most common theme. It's people say, I know what I want to do. I have this sort of purpose mapped out. It's clear, fairly clear to me. But it's not me. That's not who I am. I don't really realistically see myself being that person, doing those things. And I get it. How do you think I feel? I was this super shy, still kind of am, honestly, a little shy dude who's very introverted. And I felt called to be on social media platforms like YouTube and making videos. You got the wrong guy, I thought. This is like, you got the wrong dude. This is my wife, maybe, she's extroverted. She could do it. She wants nothing to do with it. No, Victor, it's you. This is your calling, bro. I don't know what to do with that. But what I found is that even though I remained uncomfortable with the idea, that part of me that knew it was time, I could never like stuff it out. I could never suppress it. It wouldn't go away. I'd try to make it go away. I'd try to just say, you know what? You just got to be more grateful for what you have. You don't need this YouTube thing, Vic. You're just ungrateful. You got to just appreciate what you have. And I would try to hold together this old identity, this old life that was familiar and comfortable and safe. But I'd find myself in like when you wake up in the middle of the night, your mind wanders and you start to like think about things you don't have time to think about and ruminate on in your daily life. It would always come back to this feeling in my body, this feeling that you're not doing what you came here to do. You're not following the calling that's been calling you for a long time, Victor. What are you waiting for? Oh, I'm not worthy, I'm not enough. Too bad. Do it anyway. It's kind of like the vibe I felt from the old higher self, if you will. We're always going to have these worthiness blocks. We're always going to have the money blocks, the abundance blocks, all this stuff. It's like part of life, and it's something that I've found myself sort of chipping away at over the years. And what I've found is that I don't have to remove all of that and to heal fully and become completely worthy of all in order to take a little itty bitty step forward. In fact, I found that when I just make myself take a step forward, that's when I'm sort of blasted with the relevant layers of this huge worthiness block. And as I go forward, I deal with them. And then I can go forward a little more, a little more, a little more, a little more. And by doing that, I have been chipping away at my worthiness blocks quite a bit, but there's a lot more to go. But I don't let that stop me anymore. And you don't have to either. It's a choice. I get this question all the time. Vic, I know what to do. I know what my heart wants, but I don't feel ready. I don't feel worthy, and I have all these issues that I've been dissecting in kind of a obsessive way for quite some time, thinking I just gotta heal all this. I always say, dude, it's a choice. I say this quote, in fact, when I talk to these people, and I'll give it to you for what it's worth. It's from General George Patton, very famous war hero. He was asked one time, years after he retired, were you ever afraid in the heat of the battle? And he laughed and said, of course, it's a war. But he said this, and it's always stuck with me. Maybe it will stick with you. He said, I never take counsel from my fears. There's a part of you that knows you're going to succeed. And I know you know it. I know you've been in touch with it. And when you give that attention, it somehow activates the other part of you that says, no, you're not worthy. You failed, math class in 7th grade. What about that, genius? All this stuff. And it's and then it's up to you. What do you listen to? You're going to listen to this old, obviously cynical, negative inner critic that wants you to do nothing but sit in a little corner where it's somewhat safe, paranoid and whatever, or there's this part of you luring you into the unknown. And I know that's hard because it is the epitome of the unknown. It's out of everything that you ever knew, everything that was ever comfortable and familiar. That's where the magic is. That's where your purpose is. That's where you're being lured into. But what I'm trying to tell you is that there's no perfect time. The stars aren't going to align. It comes down to this moment. What are you going to lean towards in this moment? The fear or the faith? That's on you. And only you can make that choice. And if you kind of go through the themes I shared in this new moon, I can almost guarantee you will find yourself leaning towards your purpose more so now than ever before. But it still requires a choice that any one of you in any moment can make.